It is a topic that has long carried a stereotype in society, but in South Australia, homeschooling is a movement that is gaining momentum.
Homeschooling has always been seen as something a little out of the ordinary. But in South Australia, the number of children being homeschooled is steadily increasing.
I don't think people do realise how many people there are.
The Hill family decided to start homeschooling their children 9 years ago after they wanted to tailor an education for them that better reflected the family's religious values.
It started off with one major thing, but as we got into it, we actually realised there were so many other really good reasons to do it. I think it probably took us about a year before we decided that we wanted to go ahead with it, because obviously it's not a minor decision, it's your child's education.
For the Lees family, it was academic reasons that sparked an interest in homeschooling.
I felt that my oldest son was struggling at school, and my husband was making the comment that he thought that he would end up the dumb kid in the dumb class if we continued with him at school. And so he came home halfway through grade 3.
Their 3 other children were then homeschooled as well, a decision Tamara says took time to adjust to.
It was hard to begin with. I found it quite hard. It's not like saying, I'm going to go and teach my child maths. You have, how am I going to teach my child maths? Which curriculum will I use? And so it is a big learning curve.
It's quite common for children in school to not necessarily have a level system with their ability. They might be above grade level for their maths, and they might be maybe sitting on grade level for their English, or maybe even a little bit under, but they have to move up to the next grade or stay behind and repeat. Whereas for my kids, I've been able to tailor it that if they're doing well in that subject, they can go ahead of their age grade level, or if they're struggling with this one, we can spend a little bit more time on it.
Dr Lee Burrows, a lecturer in education at Flinders University, says options for schooling are important.
Young people have such different needs and families have such different needs, and I don't think there is any such thing as a one-size-fits-all in terms of schooling. Parents really, in a democratic society, should be able to exercise choice around what kind of schooling that they would like for their kids. I guess anything that's out of the mainstream is treated with some suspicion.
Homeschool programs have to align with South Australian curriculum framework, meaning that children who are homeschooled still need to reach certain academic standards across a number of learning areas. The framework does allow for flexibility, enabling parents to adopt particular methods of educating their children to further tailor their learning.
And you can follow your passion, and it can fit into the curriculum. It can fit into the framework, the requirements and everything like that, just by doing what you love doing. If you sit down and tell a child, well, you've got to learn this, and they say, why? And you say, because. Whereas usually if it's self-initiated learning, they'll just want to do something because they have a reason to do it, and they'll have drive. They'll learn it and they'll remember it and they'll expand on it and enjoy it.
Mostly doing workbooks.
Why is that?
Because with workbooks, like, sometimes they've got games that you have to actually do, like you got to colour in squares and all, and sometimes you got to find the shapes.
21-year-old Tim Graham was homeschooled for 11 years.
There's a lot of people out there that say, if it's not what I do, it's not cool or whatever, and so they just put you in a box. I think it's the same with homeschooling. A lot of people are surprised by it and don't know about it, and they just think, oh, I've never heard of it, so it can't work, sort of thing. I guess the stereotype is nerdy, like sit in a dark room by themselves kind of thing, like very unsocial and things like that.
It's interesting to see how different people react.
Whoa, you've never been to school? Like, how do you socialise and everything?
Some people go, wow, you're so lucky. And other people go, yeah, it's good, like it could be good in some ways.
The first question you usually get asked is, what do you do for socialisation? Your child is not normal. They're not in a classroom with all their peers. And in reality, when a child leaves school, they very rarely are in a situation where they are surrounded by everybody who's the same age within 12 months of themselves anyway.
I've found out that my kids get to actually socialise more than what kids in school do. I think they get to talk, more, and they get to interact more with all ages.
I was just making a little bit of a tot up of the group that we belong to, which is a very informal social homeschooling group, and there would probably be about 24 families.
In my homeschool group, there's quite a few families, and there's a lot of kids, about maybe 70 kids.
While it may not be for everyone, homeschooling is still a viable and beneficial option for many Australian families.
Parents are the experts in their own child. That's what we in teacher education, that's what I try to say to my students, that parents know more about their child than we do. So we should actually listen to them.
Lauren Waldhuter, inside Adelaide.